After weeks of intense fighting, rebel fighters take control of parts of one of the main cities in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We ask, why does the DRC government refuse to hold talks with the Congolese rebel soldiers? And is military action the answer to this conflict? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Rida Fakhri. M23 rebels say they've taken control of the city of Goma, the provincial capital of the mineral-rich eastern DRC. On Monday, the Congolese government rejected an ultimatum to open talks with the M23 rebels. The rebels had given the government 24 hours to withdraw troops and open direct talks before they said they would advance on Goma. Well, let's get more on this now and speak to Al Jazeera's Nazanin Moshiri, who is in the eastern regional capital, Goma. Nazanin, just how firmly in control of Goma are the rebel fighters?
Well, from what we've seen, and we've been out on the streets across the city, including at the airport as well, they are pretty much in control. They are setting up strategic positions all over the provincial capital right now. And what's very interesting is how the residents of the city are treating them, welcoming them like war heroes rather than the rebel fighters that they are. So I spoke to the spokesman of M23 and asked him here in Goma, what do they want? What will resolve this issue? And they said direct talks with Kinshasa. But the problem is Kinshasa doesn't want to hold direct talks with them. There's no chance of that right now. Goma was a prize for all concerned. It is a regional capital, more than 1 million residents, the economic and political heartland of this area. And it does seem for now that M23 are in control.
You say all the M23 say they want is direct political negotiations with the government, something that has been flatly rejected. But how much pressure does their advance on Goma put on the government to sit down and negotiate with this group?
A lot of pressure, and I think that's why we're hearing reports of the president of the DRC heading to Uganda for talks. He will want to negotiate not directly with M23, but with what he says are people influencing the group, including Rwanda. Now, there was a UN expert panel report that came out recently which pointed fingers at Rwanda and Uganda for helping them militarily, with intelligence, arming them, and even in some cases sending troops across the border with them as well. That's in Rwanda's case. Both countries strenuously deny this, but something has changed in the last 6 months. When I met the group, they were just a ragtag group or bunch of rebels, not very well armed, struggling really to make any kind of an impact. Now they are in Goma and they've managed to do this, and it's very unlikely they've managed to do this without outside help.
And so that is the picture from Goma. Nazanin Moshiri, thank you very much indeed. So is military action the answer to the conflict in the Democratic Republic of the Congo? On the phone from Kinshasa is Lambert Mende, Minister of Communication for the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Mr. Minister, the rebels are calling for direct negotiations with your government. Why is your government in Kinshasa continuing to refuse to talk to the M23 rebel leaders?
Basically, it is a question of efficiency. We have had experience in the past of negotiating with a proxy force and neglecting the real aggressor of our country, namely Rwanda. We negotiated with CNDP, and then we thought we finalized everything. We could live in peace in our country, only to see that Rwanda has created a new proxy force. This is the M23 now. So we said enough is enough. We should no longer losing our time with the proxy forces, with the mercenaries. Let's talk with the one who is creating them. That is why we decide not to accept any direct negotiation with M23, and we are sticking on that position. They took Goma to force us to do so. They lose because we can't accept that. Even if they take Kinshasa, we must designate Rwanda as the aggressor, because they want us to say that there is another aggressor so that they will not deserve sanctions from the international community. This won't be done.
But Mr. Mende, you mentioned Rwanda. Whether or not Rwanda is involved in supporting the M23 rebels is irrelevant. The rebels themselves are telling you, and you are fighting them on the ground, they're telling you they are ready to sit down and negotiate with you, or else you will suffer the consequences. Isn't it your responsibility as a government to make sure you do all that is in your power to try to protect your civilian population, which is becoming increasingly vulnerable as a result of this ongoing conflict?
What is irrelevant, madam, is just this way of making banalization of such banditry and blackmailing behavior from Rwanda toward the Democratic Republic of Congo. We think that we now, to trace now a red line, we should stop this banditry that is lasting from 1998 now. We cannot do as if we are stopping it, knowing that tomorrow or at the end of the day, Rwanda will create again another puppet to disturb security in our country. Let's finalize it. We are ready to face any consequences.
Are you saying you are ready to sit down with Rwandan officials then and negotiate?
We have never stopped negotiating with Rwanda, and Rwanda has never stopped negotiating with us. We are both a member of the CIRGL conference, and President Kabila is now in Kampala. I think President Kagame also. We are speaking with them. We think that there we can find a solution that will last.
Mr. Mende, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for sharing your perspectives. So what are the implications of the government's refusal to negotiate with rebel fighters? To discuss this, we're now joined by three guests. In Paris, Emanuel Dupree from the Institute for Prospective and Security Studies in Europe. In Washington, D.C., Yusa Bunzugiye from the Congo Global Coalition, an alliance of humanitarian, human rights and environmental organizations specializing in the Congo. And in New York, Olivier Nduhungirehe. He is the first counselor with a permanent mission of the Republic of Rwanda to the United Nations. Thank you all for being with us. If I can start with you, Mr. Nduhungirehe. As you might have just heard, the Congolese government has been refusing to negotiate directly with the M23 rebels, saying Rwanda is the real culprit here. How much material support are you providing, is your government providing to the M23 rebels?
None. Thank you for inviting us. What we have been saying for the last month is that there is no support of Rwanda to the M23. And what's happened today is a clear indication that the military solution has failed to bring a solution to the crisis in Eastern DRC. And a political solution is now more important than ever. And Rwanda is working towards that goal, and we are committed within the ICGLR process to bring a lasting solution to the crisis.
But just going back to the question, Mr. Nduhungirehe, if I may, just going back to the question, though, of how much support you are providing to the M23, it isn't just the government of the DRC that says that you are providing much support to the M23 rebels. It is also a recent United Nations report that said officials in Rwanda have been commanding the 7-month rebellion. If not Rwanda, then who else is providing this type of support?
As for the group of expert report, we have submitted our response, a detailed response to their allegations, because they have no evidence whatsoever as for the support of Rwanda to M23. And then, yesterday, and the day before, we have heard the spokesperson of the government, of the DRC government, Lambert Mende, accusing Rwanda to support the M23. And those are far-fetched accusations. I can give you an example, a simple example. They have said that we have 4,000 Rwandan troops that crossed the border to support the M23. But Saturday, the MONUSCO didn't confirm that. MONUSCO said that they have no evidence that Rwanda was intervening in the DRC. And it's 4,000 troops is what we have in Darfur, in UNAMID. Do you think that we can have 4,000 troops crossing the border without MONUSCO witnessing or having information on that movement? And there was also other accusations yesterday or the day before on the military uniforms that were found on M23 soldiers' bodies. But on the ground, there is a mechanism called a joint verification mechanism that was established by the ICGLR to verify allegations from both sides. But the DRC government didn't submit those cases to the joint verification mechanism and went to the media. Then we refute all those allegations that are baseless.
All right. Well, how credible then is this talk, this refusal to accept any of the allegations, Mr. Bunzugi? How much does knowing what to do with this conflict depend on knowing who is to blame, whether Rwanda, other neighboring countries, the government itself, or the M23?
Well, I think the last time I was on the panel here, we discussed with the minister, and the issue at point was some of the inefficiency and incompetence, corruptions, which I laid out to the government. The primary responsibility of any government is to protect its people. Blaming is not a defense of the people. Keep on blaming the neighbors, blaming the rebels who have taken arms against your government is not a defense. Go fight them, defeat them. That's one aspect. The second aspect, you can defeat them by changing within yourself. How do you change? It's clear that the government in Kinshasa has some serious inefficiency. Bring reforms within yourself. Fight corruption. Fight all the means which are there undermining the military. I read a report from Minister Matata, who said that since the war started, they have spent almost $400 million in fighting this war. As a result, they have failed to defeat the rebel. They had almost 3 months to prepare, to defend, to organize their army. There was a ceasefire, even an opportunity to discuss with them, but they didn't. Our concern as a human rights activist is the well-being of the people of Congo in general and the people of Kivu in particular. These people have suffered a lot, and the government cannot provide relief to them by blaming either Rwanda or M23. Even if Rwanda has crossed the border, it's the duty of the government to protect the borders, to defend the people, and to defeat even the Rwandese army if possible.
Okay, well, let's have a look maybe perhaps now at what might be the responsibility of the so-called international community, and we can speak to Emanuel Dupree on this. France, Mr. Dupree, very much at the forefront of these efforts at the UN to put forward a new draft resolution that would bring about sanctions against the M23. Some people are wondering what benefit there might be to this type of approach and what the motivations, the calculations of France might be.
Well, before speaking about the calculation of France, you must have in mind that Saturday, the Security Council asked for the end of the progression of M23 towards Goma, and furthermore asked and blamed eventual external position, external sustain in terms of arms and in terms of equipment. So I won't say it's just a France stance. We mentioned the fact that France has drafted a resolution, which hopefully will be presented Wednesday at the Security Council. But you have to have in mind that France is not only the only country to have a clear implication, because France is asking on behalf of the international community just to basic factors. First of all, interoperability of borders. Second of all, free access to humanitarian aid. You must have in mind that there is a humanitarian dilemma here. People cannot go inside Goma, whether or not M23 has entered Goma. I have reports that they did not have. So I also have reports that the MONUSCO is engaging M23 and that M23 as some speakers before have mentioned it, has had clear support from the Rwandese army. So now the issue is both, and Ban Ki-moon said it, reminding that there are 6,700 soldiers of the MONUSCO in the area, and clearly the first thing to assess is the integrity and the sovereignty of a state. Secondly, to put in the diplomatic agenda, and this is exactly what France has done, and hopefully this will be presented at the Security Council on Wednesday.
Mr. Bunzigi, how much faith do you have in the international community's ability to bring about an end to this conflict through its current approach, this forthcoming draft resolution, which essentially will try to impose sanctions on the leadership? Will it make any kind of difference? And just how much wisdom is there to the idea of bringing in Rwanda as well? The French ambassador to the UN mentioned that the Rwandan will play a delicate part in this draft resolution.
Well, I think the international community has completely failed. These people have been in the Eastern Congo for more than 10 years now. They have spent almost $1.5 billion every year. But still, 10, 20 kilometers away from the bases of MONUSCO, women are being raped. Children are dying as a result of no Medicare. Vulnerable people are being chased from their land every day by various militias. And the UN is there, the MONUSCO is there. I think it's a question now which is going to be left to the Congolese people in general and the people of Kivu in particular to decide. I don't think France can come and sit on the ground and say that we don't want A, B, C, D in Eastern Congo. It's the people who have been suffering from more than 10 years with the international community there to take their charge and do what they want to do with their life. France has some particular interest maybe in Congo. Those interests might be the one which is pushing them to go and push those resolutions. But what about the interest of the Congolese people? What about those people who are suffering? Those women who are being raped down there where the MONUSCO is, 10, 20 kilometers, where $1 billion is being paid every day for the upkeep of the security of those people, but nothing is being done. I don't think the international community has the moral authority today with the rebel group, which was there 6 months ago, to 800 people, has sworn to become big and influential, be capable of defeating the national army, which national army, by the way, the French have trained, the Belgians have trained. All of them, they have trained them. But how come they have not become able to be able to defeat that rebel army? There is fundamental problems within the government in Kinshasa. And it's high time France to look at it, at that problem. Stop for your interest now. Look at the interest of those people who are suffering.
Mr.
The people in Eastern Congo.
Mr. Dupree, how do you respond, albeit I understand that you are not speaking, obviously, in any official capacity, but how would France respond to these types of allegations that what motivates it, first and foremost, are its own vested interests in the country, the exploitation of the vast mineral wealth of the DRC?
Well, I'm not sure France is the only country to have maybe interest in the region. I do have in mind that other contracts have been signed and drafted by other nations, and I won't put that basis on the table of discussion. Just again reminding everyone what is the solution, what is the situation, excuse me. Saturday, the Security Council, the 15 members of the Security Council, asked for the immediate end of the progression of M23. Now we have the assessment that M23 may be in Goma or outside Goma, 5 kilometers in the locality of Munigi. We're not sure of that. We're not sure that MONUSCO is engaging actually the rebels. Again, let's put it on the diplomatic agenda. We have always said that MONUSCO is here to assess the security of the Congolese people, that there must not be any type of external intervention, and this was mentioned a few weeks ago by the group of experts, saying that mentioning a certain number of neighboring countries' interests in the sustain of the M23 movement, and reminding that there are clear United Nations sanctions and an embargo on arms and any type of military furniture. And this is exactly what France has asked for the international community to remind.
Mr. Dingahari, in New York, what kind of contribution can Rwanda make at the Security Council in light of this ongoing suspicion that it is playing an active role in fueling the rebellion in nearby DRC?
Before even talking to, on the United Nations Security Council, Rwanda is fully committed within the ICGLR process. Today, President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, was due to meet President Museveni of Uganda, who is chairing the ICGLR, and President Kabila of Congo to discuss the latest developments and have a new approach on how to deal with the issue. Because the problem of the international community is that by focusing on the blame game and ignoring the root causes of the conflict, they missed an opportunity to help DRC restoring peace and security in DRC, and also to stabilize the Great Lakes region. And then Rwanda is fully committed within the ICGLR to finding a lasting solution for the crisis, and will continue as a member of the Security Council to find a solution to the crisis. And yet again, the military solution has failed, and then it's now to explore the political solution in order to solve the crisis in Eastern DRC. What
are the root causes that you think have been ignored all these years?
We have been said those in the last years. There is a problem of governance in DRC, and there is a problem of vacuum of security. Those are the main problems of DRC right now. There's other problems regarding nationalities of populations in Eastern DRC, but the problems are internal to DRC. This is where the international community has missed the opportunity to address those root causes of the conflict and blame Rwanda and other external other countries on the crisis.
Mr. Bunzigiye, do you agree with this assessment, or is it far too simplistic?
I mean, I think the assessment, which they say that the issue fundamentally is the vacuum and the governance, vacuum security and governance in Kinshasa, the assessment is correct. But beyond that vacuum and security, let's face it, this region, and I speak because I come from the Kivu region has been in turmoil for more than 20 years now. Beyond the security vacuum, there is community tension. Communities have tensions. This is a high time for this community to start talking to one another in that Kivu region. That's point number one. Besides the governance, and that's the vacuum of the governance and the security has made the community tension to be on the high than it has ever been. I don't know if people do know that if you put the community together in Kivu particular, and they start talking to one another, they start a reconciliation process, security will come very quick, and then development will come as well. Since the time of Mobutu, the only place in Congo where there was tension was the Kivu. The French, they know it. The Belgium, they know it. Everyone knows that tension of the community within the Kivu is a serious, explosive issue. But nobody wants to address that one.
Very complicated situation. Let me thank all our guests in Paris, Emanuel Dupree, in Washington, D.C., Youssa Bunzigiye, and in New York, Olivier Nduhungirehe. And thank you very much, as always, for joining us on Inside Story. Send us your feedback by emailing us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. From me, Rida Fakhri, and the team, thanks for watching.